Hello everyone, so I am here finally. I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm finally here with the favourite books that I read of 2018. So they're not going to be in any particular order, but I have finally managed to whittle it down to the 10 best books that I read last year. And I think actually all but 2 of them were actually released last year as well. So apparently 2018 was a really good year for new releases as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right on into it. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. So this was a YA debut fantasy book that got a load of hype when it came out, and it's still getting a load of hype now, and it is really worth all of the hype that it's getting. It is West African inspired, I think specifically Nigerian inspired, mythologically and magically as well. And it follows a girl called Zelly who lives in a world where magic has been stolen by a corrupt monarchy, and there's only a few people left who can do magic, and they have to stay kind of hidden from society. They have to hide the fact that they can do magic, and Zelly is one of these people, and she is going on a quest to restore magic back to her kingdom and overthrow the monarchy. It is such an exciting magical adventure, very intricate, interesting use of elemental magic in there as well. I really love the love story between Zelly's brother Zane and this rogue princess that she meets as well called Amari. Amari is such a badass character, really loved her, and yeah, it is really worth all of the hype it's getting. At the end of every single chapter, something happened that made me want to keep reading. I just couldn't put it down, and that is a massive thing for me to say about YA fantasy, because I have fallen out of love with it massively over the last year or so. I just think it's become so predictable, so boring, so tropey. Not the case for this at all. It was so unique, and I can't wait to read the rest of this series when those books come out. So yeah, definitely give this a read if you haven't already. The next one I'm going to talk about is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. So this was my first Agatha Christie book, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know whether it is considered her most well-known one, but it is certainly one of her pretty famous ones. So this follows 10 very shady, unlikable characters who end up in this manor house together, and nobody really seems to know the truth of why they're there. Their host is very elusive. They don't know where their host is, and there are these little toy soldiers in the middle of the dining table, and one by one they start to die. These guests start to die, and as they die, these toy soldiers start disappearing as well. So it quickly becomes apparent that one of them is the murderer and is killing everyone else, and they have to try and figure out amongst themselves what is really going on here. It was so addictive. I really love my kind of retro murder mystery kind of stories, and this was a great start to Agatha Christie's work for me. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely pick this one up if it sounds like your kind of thing. The next one I'm going to talk about is One Day in December by Josie Silver. So this is an adult contemporary romance about Laurie and Jack, who glimpse each other through a bus window one Christmas. Laurie is on the bus and Jack is outside on the street, and they kind of make eye contact, and there's a little moment there between them, and then the bus pulls away and they never see each other again, supposedly. But Laurie spends the next year obsessively thinking about Jack and trying to find him again. She wants to find this beautiful mysterious boy that she saw for a few seconds through a bus window, and she doesn't find him over the course of a year, and then her best friend and flatmate Sarah brings home her new boyfriend, and lo and behold, Sarah's new boyfriend is Jack. So what follows on from there basically is the next 10 years of their lives, where Laurie is kind of secretly in love with her best friend's boyfriend, and she doesn't really know what to do about that. But it is just such an unpredictable adult romance, and it's not really often you can say that. There was definitely a frustration there, because you kind of wanted them to get together, but then you were very aware of all the extenuating circumstances surrounding them. It was very frustrating, but in a good way, because it just kind of reminded you how much you really cared about them. It was just so lovely, gorgeous, very satisfying ending as well. Definitely pick it up. I would say it probably is more of a Christmas book, but you could probably read it at any time during the year as well, so definitely pick it up and give it a go, but maybe possibly yet save it for Christmas. But yeah, can't recommend it enough. It was just so lovely. So yeah. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Truth, Pixie by Matt Haig. So this is a little middle grade story about the Truth Pixie, and she is a pixie who has been cursed to tell the truth forever, no matter what, even if the truth is really bad. And obviously this really annoys some people, so she basically goes on a quest by herself to find someone who will love her, whatever she says, even if the truth is bad. And it is just, I can't tell you how beautiful this book is. It is just full of so much magic and so much gorgeousness. Is that even a word? I'm going to read you a little bit because I just think every kid should know this book and have it in their little personal library. I'm going to read you one of my favourite bits. There will be people you love who can't stay forever, and there will be things you can't fix although you are clever. But listen hard and listen good. Life might not go as it should, but you are young and your life will be magic. It will be happy and funny and sometimes tragic. Don't forget who you are. You are a fighter. As the dark in the sky makes the stars shine brighter, you will find the bad stuff has good bits too. The bad days are the days that make you you. So there is also so much in there about finding light in the darkness. It's gorgeously illustrated as well by a guy called Chris Mould, as you can see there. It's written in a really lovely, quirky, sing-songy rhyme. There, she meets a troll, as you can see. Yeah, it's so lovely, and I can't recommend it if you've got kids, or even actually if you just love little illustrated middle grade books. Give this book a read. It's just so lovely. It will literally take you like 10 minutes to read and you'll just get so much from it. So yeah, absolutely adored The Truth, Pixie. The next one I'm going to talk about is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. So this is a spin-off book to Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, and because of that I'm not going to talk too much about the actual plot of this because I feel like there may be slight spoilers for people who don't know the characters of Simon, who haven't read that book yet. But I will just say that this is about Leah, who is a bisexual teenage girl, basically just discovering who she is. She develops feelings on one of her very close friends. It's very quirky, it's very funny, it's very adorable. I couldn't put it down. I read this in one sitting. So yeah, definitely pick this up, especially if you've already read and loved Simon. Yeah, so definitely try this one too. The next one I'm going to talk about is Pages and Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. So this is another middle grade fantasy book about Tilly, who lives in a bookshop that her grandparents own, and her mother went missing years ago and she's never really known the truth about her mother's disappearance. And it transpires that her grandparents' bookshop is a little bit magical, and the characters from the books can come out of the pages and wander around, and Tilly thinks that this is absolutely amazing. And the more that she learns about this thing called book wandering, the closer it is apparently to her mother's disappearance and Tilly's own origins and her own past and things like that. It's a really lovely magical adventure. It's definitely a book for book lovers. Yeah, definitely give this a go. It's just a really lovely, very quick, magical middle grade adventure. So yeah. The next one I'm going to talk about is Three Things About Elsie by Joanna Canon. So this is an adult contemporary about 84-year-old Florence who has fallen over in her flat, and while she's waiting to be rescued, she starts thinking about her life with her best friend Elsie, and she also starts trying to solve this mystery around this guy who's recently moved into her care home, who bears a very strong resemblance to a man that she knows died like 60 years before. So there's a little bit of a mystery element thrown in there as well, but it is ultimately just a really lovely, cute little adult contemporary about friendship and about how such a little, seemingly insignificant, simple life can have such a massive impact. It's just such a lovely book. I know I've recommended this book a lot over my videos of last year as well, because I think I read it in like January of last year. but it's just so lovely. I also actually did read Joanna Cannon's debut book, The Trouble with Goats and Sheep, this year as well. Again, absolutely loved it. I am a massive Joanna Cannon fan now, so I can't wait for her to write another one. But yeah, definitely pick this up because it's just absolutely adorable. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. So this is a Victorian gothic, chilling kind of horror novel about a young widow called Elsie, who is seeing out her pregnancy at her dead husband's estate, and she thinks initially that the only person she has for company is his very awkward cousin, who she doesn't really get on all that well with. But then she finds a collection of silent companions, which are basically wooden shapes that are in the shape of humans. She finds them in the cellar, and they seem to resemble her husband when he was younger and members of her dead husband's family. So she kind of gets them out and she displays them around the house. Silent companions apparently were these wooden figures that people had made in the kind of 17th and 18th century, almost as like wooden decorations of people. So she gets them out almost as like wooden decorations to have around the house, and she eventually finds one that weirdly looks exactly like her as well. But as time goes on, these silent companions apparently move of their own accord, like they'll be in a different room to where she or any of the servants left them, and she starts to believe that they're watching her as well. It's very, very creepy. There's a very dramatic ending to this. I got totally sucked in. It's definitely my kind of book. If you're into your Victorian Gothic chillers, then this is a definite must read. Yeah, really, really loved it. And it's such a gorgeous hardback as well, as you can see. I think they also do it in black as well, this hardback. So yeah, have a look at that and obviously pick your favourite. But cannot recommend this story enough. Really, really loved it. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Chalk Man by Cj Tudor. So this is another thriller. So this is kind of set across two time periods. One time period is in the 80s, where we follow a group of boys who live in a very sleepy, very boring English town, and to entertain themselves they leave each other little messages in chalk. They each have a different colour chalk so they know who has left the message, and one day they find this message that isn't in any of their colours, and it leads them to the body of a girl who has gone missing in the town. And then years later, these boys all get letters in the post. They're all grown men by this time, and they all get letters with this mysterious chalk man in the letter, and they don't really know what it's all about, and they think that maybe someone's trying to play a joke on them, and then one of them ends up dead. So our narrator Eddie goes back to his hometown to try and figure out what really went on when he was a kid and whether it's connected to the recent death of his friend, and it transpires that it is quite closely linked to what's going on in his current life as well. I really, really love this. I actually originally bought it for my Kindle, and I loved it so much that I had to have the hardcover, because just look at it, I wanted it for my shelves, and I literally never do that. I will literally just buy, if I buy a book for my Kindle, I will never like buy a physical copy unless I really, really love it. So that's exactly what I did with this one. It's very Stephen King-esque, it's very creepy. Yeah, so definitely pick this up. I think she's got a new one coming out very soon as well, which I can't wait to get my hands on. So yeah. And the last book that I'm going to talk about in my favourite books of 2018 video is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. So you will probably know that I am a massive, massive Ruth Ware fan. This is her latest one. This came out in the summer, and this follows a struggling psychic called Hal, and she lives in Brighton. She has very little money, and then one day she gets a letter saying that she has come into a very substantial inheritance, but she knows straight away that this letter is a mistake and that she's not the intended heir to this fortune. But because she's struggling for money, she decides to go to this woman's funeral and meet the family and basically try and sort it out. But also at the same time, she's aware that she knows that she needs this money, so she's going to try and see if she can still swing it so that she can get the inheritance. But as she goes there, as she becomes familiar with the family and she meets all these people, she realises that Mrs. Westaway's death was actually quite suspicious, and these people are possibly a little bit shady, and there's something weird going on. It was just so addictive. I didn't know what was going on. It was so twisty. It was just everything that a good thriller mystery should be. It was a little bit Agatha Christie-esque as well. Now that I've read Agatha Christie, I can definitely see Ruth Ware's Christie inspiration in there. But yeah, absolutely loved it, and I can't wait for a new Ruth Ware. She normally brings one out kind of late June, early July, so hopefully she'll do the same this year. So yeah, definitely try Ruth Ware if you haven't already. And that is it for my favourite books of 2018. What were some of yours? Please let me know. As normal, I will leave all of my social media in the description down below. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.